Hey, welcome to our YouTube channel again. You're here with the Toneys. I'm Cedric.
I'm Natalie.
Hey, it's Joy and Pains with the Toneys once again. This is another episode for you guys. Hey, I want to make sure you guys remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel.
Please,
It's going to be some
please.
great information that we're sharing, some good advice, some things, some tips and tricks in the marriage to pick up, things about love that you might want to be interested in listening to. So we got some good stuff for you guys. So
Some fun stories too.
Hey,
always. We always
definitely.
got stories to share.
We definitely do.
Today's topic that we are going to talk about is when do you know that you're ready for
When
marriage?
do you know?
And so there are 3 different areas that we're going to cover that will help to prepare you and help you to kind of know, or at least for us, know when we were ready for marriage or when we should have been ready for marriage. So those 3 areas are friendship goals,
Hey, friendship goals,
relationship goals,
bay goals,
and marriage goals.
put that ring on it.
So, baby, you want to start by first off, disclaimer. Some of these things we wish we had done. We didn't always follow these things. We weren't taught to do it or didn't know to do some of these things. And through counseling, through years of experience, we were able to, now we know what we should have done and had to backtrack and do some of these things. So we're sharing our experiences with that. So, you want to start us out?
Yeah, I'll start us off, but we'll keep it, back and forth on this stuff. It won't just be one-sided on this.
Of course
So
not.
I'll start with the friendship a little bit. And I won't go into too much of the joy and pain aspect of it, but friendship goals. You definitely got to build a great friendship with that partner, that person that you're seeking to court, seeking to get to know. Just like guys, we build friendship with men, at a real, level that's not really deep, but it's really deep because we don't ever talk about it. You got to start off some type of friendship with your spouse that way. You got to build that trust. We talked about that previously with trust and communication, and you got to establish that, and you got to be on the same page and align yourself. But building that foundation of a friendship, getting to know one another, spending time with people, just some of the simple basic rules that friends do. Just do fun stuff, hanging out, going on dates, calling each other up, being on the phone late night to the hour, texting each other, constant communication. So Natalie, share your thoughts on friendships.
So I can share our experience. So for us, I think we rushed. We were young and really into each other, and it was just really physical early on, and it was all over each other. But we never took that time to really get to know each other. And so one of the things that I think I learned once I was married was that foundation was really important to build a friendship first, and having some type of solid foundation with friendship, because we knew each other physically, but finding time to get to know each other in other aspects, emotionally, mentally, was important. And so I think that time to, and we went out on dates, but that time to, like he said, court each other, would be important, or is important for us to do and for you to do, to get to know that person. So you have to have a solid foundation as friends before moving into that next level when you're starting to talk about marriage, starting to talk about all of those things. So once you have established that friendship, you've got that foundation, and the next important part to that is our relationship goals, which is setting expectation or establishing expectations and goals for your relationship. Right. And so that's when you have those conversations. Are we exclusive? Are we seeing other people? Because let's be honest, there are relationships that work for people who have open relationships, but it's having that communication with each other and talking to each other and saying, okay, from here on out, we are, whatever the title is, boyfriend and girlfriend, whatever that title is, girlfriend and girlfriend. And from here on out, we are going to be exclusive, or yes, I'm okay with seeing other people, but you lay down those expectations, and you need to have those conversations early on.
I'll say this, that's always easier said than done to set that expectation. I feel like 95% of us will say that, we need to set this expectation. Are we exclusive and all this, are open? the rare people in this world are the ones that come with that proposal to their other significant other. It didn't happen like that for us.
No, but I think it was because we were young. I think people who are more mature, I know some people who are more mature when they get into relationships, that is very clear early on.
Yeah.
Like, this is where I'm going, which leads me into, you need to have a conversation as to where are we going? Where is this leading? Because how many times have we seen relationships where it's going nowhere? I've heard of women who've been expecting a ring for 10 years or 20 years, and they've been in a relationship and they're like, this is moving nowhere. But did they have that conversation? Was that expectation set out, or that goal set out early to where it's like, okay, this relationship is leading to this end goal. Yes, we are getting married. And if we're getting married, what's that timeline look like? I think it's important to have a timeline. I know even we were young, but we had a timeline. We had said, by the time I graduate, we want to start talking about, graduate college, we want to start talking about marriage. And we knew that early on, and we had that conversation. So that's important too. Go on.
No, I think that you had a good point. It's key to have a timeline. I think that's really important. We didn't communicate that effectively at all. But if people keep that stuff in mind,
I think we did the timeline.
Efficient on timeline. I'm just saying, in our early on relationship phase, when we were off and on, boyfriend and girlfriend, that's when you're exclusive. But we didn't have a set say, hey, we were still young. We were in college. You were getting out of high school and college. So think about setting that good timeline for yourselves and communicate that. And that's really important. And I just listened to you say that, it made me just want to, hone in on that aspect.
Yeah. Another thing that I think we realized later in life, once we were married, is you have to have that conversation also about shared values. Because if his values are totally different than my values, then those values are going to clash once you are married. So it's important to talk about those things and lay those things out early on in the relationship goals, in the bay time, bay goals time. Talk about those things early so that once you're in the marriage, that's not causing conflict in your marriage. And so, is money most important in your relationship? Is having kids important in your relationship? Because I've seen, even friends who one person wants a baby, another person doesn't. And what does that look like if we end up getting married? And that could cause, friction in your marriage. So you have to set out, those goals that you have. And then also, career goals and aligning some of those personal and career goals. If there's someone who wants to go to the military, but the other person isn't about that travel life, you have to align your own personal goals together so that they work together, So I think that's important too.
Well, I think throughout the relationship phase, that do's and don't list becomes a little bit more rigid. When you're a friendship phase, you're all like everything. You're doing everything to get this person. It's not like once you got that person in the bag in that relationship, you just cut all that stuff off. I'm not saying that, but some things kind of get turned off and they evolve or change. And those things that on your do's and don't list of a partner or have and have not things start to get a little bit more rigid. Like, I want to go on a date every Thursday becomes we could probably make it out once a month versus every week. But you don't want to become complacent in your relationship. Go back to things that made you guys best friends. Go back to the fun stuff, the fun aspects. Don't lose that through the relationship phase just because you already have that person. Don't get complacent. Don't get lazy on the person. Not just remember the fun, but even make your fun evolve with that person. Make sure you're doing different things. Make sure you're doing stuff that you're looking at to make that person grow, make yourself grow, make that relationship grow. That's what you want to do. Looking at the common values, looking at the things that you guys both love to do, make sure you're growing those things with each other.
And I think that's important. What you said is going back to what was it about this person that made this person fun? Because one of the things we found when we got married, life happened. Life hit. When we first were together, we were kids. Once we got married, we had full-time jobs. Then we had children and all of these things that were pulling us apart. and molding us. And let's get it twisted, especially if you're with not get it twisted. If you're with someone who was young at one point, you guys grow up together like we did. I remember we would get in fights and he'd say, what happened to the old Nat who used to do this? And you have to understand, like, I'm not that person anymore. He's not. Yeah, you're supposed to evolve. That's what you want. And so understanding that and aligning those goals and understanding, like, yes, we're right here, but my goal or our goal should be to get here. Another thing that you really discussed or pushed was that friendship, and I kind of want to go back to that foundation being laid, because once you're in a marriage, that foundation is so important, because there's going to be times where you guys fuss and you fight, and then you have to go back to, okay, but this is my friend. At the end of the day, this is my friend.
Yeah.
And when the kids move out, when they graduate and they go get jobs, you might have a whole bunch of kids, but then when they all leave, it's just you and him, or you and her, or whoever it is. And so you have to have some type of foundation, or you won't have anything, and you're gonna be looking at each other like, who is this person I married? So that foundation, I keep saying foundation, that friendship is so important.
It is. And I want to start tagging along to get to our next topic, like with the relationship. And I'll talk about our personal story. So when we were off and on for years, and at first, in those first off and on moments when we were younger, I could not say I had a really defined, planned timeline with Natalie. It wasn't until I started to see how faithful she was to me, how dedicated she was to me, how she was worried about my well-being, and how she was all that ride or die. And when you start to look at those aspects, that's when it starts to grow into I need to start making this timeline for my proposal. I know I talked about our proposal, how that went down on one of our previous episodes, but I started to just realize, okay, I need to start honing it. I need to change my habits. I need to start changing my lifestyle. In that the relationship phase, yes, we communicated. We said we're back together. But after I started to realize I wanted this person to be the one, I knew that timeline of the marriage phase was in that 3-year picture for myself. And that was communicated, and she, like I said, she didn't have the hint of the proposal when that was coming. But she, we knew marriage was around the corner for us.
And we discussed
that.
Yeah.
And gaining the proper respect from family members, and getting their insight from that. Hey, I'm thinking I want to get married to your daughter or your niece. Or what do you think? Do you think I'm ready for that, or we're ready for that? Getting their insight is important. That's what I started to do. And that started to lead to the marriage aspect. So that's just our personal story from my perspective on how that led to that, to get to marriage from our timeline.
So with marriage goals, a few things, even before you get to the marriage, there are a lot of things that we went to marriage counseling. So we had pre-marital counseling. And that is when we had a whole workbook and everything. Yeah. Shout out to Bible Way in Irving, Texas, and Pastor Wilbert and the Bookers. And so we got a lot of nuggets from our pre-marital counseling. And in that workbook, it talked about, what does the moving in process look like? Yeah. Because he had lived by himself, and I had never lived by myself. I lived in the dorms, but other than that, I never lived by myself or been away from the nest. So bringing in those two experiences was challenging. We talked about what finances were going to look like, and how are we going to have joint incomes? Are we going to share bank accounts? Are we going to have separate bank accounts? And how are we going to work with money or deal with money? That was something we'd never thought about, which can cause a lot of arguments in marriage. And we didn't even
talk about, hey, she's going to move down to Texas. She just like, I'm moving down where you are. Yeah. I think she wanted to change and she wanted to get that. But, have a discussion on where are you guys going to have your your final resting place for you after your marriage, like as far as where your home is going to be, if you're going to move for a job. But those discussions needed to be had, because she definitely just up and moved and packed her bags, came down to Texas. I wasn't quite ready, but
again, communication,
you
important.
gotta do that. You gotta do that.
See, at the time, I thought I was running something, so I was like, I'm coming.
And then, so I will say, in our story, it caught me off guard a little bit, wedding planning. I did not know it was gonna be within a year. Hey, after this 1 year wedding planning from her end, we're getting married. So I knew after my proposal, I was like, man, I have a fiance for like 2 years in my mind.
I never knew that.
Yeah, I was like, I even said 2 to 3 years. I
never knew that.
Yeah.
See, communication.
He
did not communicate. I didn't even know that.
Literally, I proposed. She said, we got a year. I said, oh. that just crushed my goals and dreams in my head. I didn't communicate it. I mean, but if I propose to somebody, you can't be too shy from whatever the date is put out, even if it's one. Not saying one side is okay. You should have effectively communicated this thing. And that probably made it a little rocky. I ain't gonna front, but I wasn't fully ready. But I didn't say that. I didn't voice my opinion on it. So if you don't say nothing, closed mouth don't get fed. And
or you gonna get fed more than you expect.
And so the whole wedding plan, it literally was like a 1 year countdown for myself and for us. And just seeing how she was doing all the involved planning stuff, and I'm just like, man, this ain't the plan I thought I was supposed to do.
We had lots of arguments.
Yeah.
You know, people think that the wedding is the big thing, and we soon learned, no, the marriage is what we should have been putting more emphasis in and more attention to. Don't get it twisted. I love weddings. Since I was a little girl, I've loved weddings. Even now, I help people with their weddings. And so I wanted my wedding to be this big dream wedding. And that wasn't something he cared about. And so again, those joint values, what do you value? And you have to align those things. And I wasn't keeping his values in mind. I wanted what I wanted. Yep. I'm the bride. And it caused tension in our marriage, and tension even between, I think, he and my mother. There were just a lot of things or issues that it caused. And so be prepared for that wedding time, that wedding planning. For some people choose to not even go that route because it can be stressful. And to anyone, I think I say to each his own.
Make your situation work for you.
Make it work for you, but do not put all of your energy into the wedding, because the marriage is what is most important. And I think we learned that because we ended up going to the courthouse 2 months before we actually got married, because we realized, we're already living together. We're already doing this marriage thing. The wedding is just symbolizes bringing all of our loved ones together to celebrate it. So we just went to the courthouse and got married. That was the most intimate, special thing. And that's what I think 2 months before the wedding that I realized this is what's important.
Now, family planning when it comes to kids, the funny thing is, with us, I said no kids.
Yeah, we thought we were going to be the auntie and uncle
that
just spoiled all of our god kids and nieces and nephews. And then something changed. I don't know I started looking at the value of the black man, and that didn't really hit me until after like that first interaction with college. I need to start making sure my black legacy as a black man is carried on somehow. And now I did first say I wanted a tribe. After I said I didn't want kids at all, I'm saying I want a tribe. She's going back. She wanted a tribe at first. I did. I used to want
6 kids.
6 kids. I did back in the day.
After we've had these first 2 that have been running around, this Elijah and Ethan aspect.
Oh, Jesus.
Man, they are rambunctious, busy. Anybody on the block can tell you about our kids, which is a great thing because they're amazing kids. We love them. They're wonderful. They're fun to be around. They're joy. But they keep you busy.
Yeah.
They got some sharp tongues as far as they'll tell it like it is, no cursing involved, but they get that from their dad.
But like he said, you need to have those conversations prior to getting married. And like he said, he changed.
Yeah,
I changed. But be open to know that yes, we communicated this, but be open and to this might change or evolve over time, and how he feels now or how she feels now may change over time, and that's okay too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So have that family planning discussed.
Now he want 2 more, and I'm like, oh,
that Black legacy. I'm gonna get
know.
it. We're gonna get this Black legacy. I got 2 great young men that's gonna come out of being Toneys and carry the Toney name.
All of these 3 areas that we've discussed, it's important to have all of those things, because that's going to be the foundation. When you know you've gone through all of these things, that's when you know that really, yeah, I think I'm ready for marriage. We've gone through the friendship, we've laid that foundation, we've gone through the relationships and worked out all of those things and set that foundation, and we've talked about marriage and all of the counseling and all of that. And so that's when you really know, at least for us, in our experience, or the lack of those things, when we knew we weren't ready for certain parts of marriage. And so
just remember, you're marrying your friend.
Yeah.
You know, and it takes it right back to the foundation. So, all right. So this is that joy
and pain, like sunshine and rain.
Oh, I need to work on my notes. My keys be a little off, a little flat.
Yep.
But yeah, baby, talk about that shirt you got on.
Oh yeah, so last time, or for every show, we've been trying to share a Black business that we have patronized. So this shirt says, God, I let go, do your thing. And so I got this shirt and some other shirts for my kids from Beacon Threads. Online. I actually first saw them on Instagram and went to their website. We will drop the website into the description, and you can put it on here. But I would check them out. They have some great Christian pieces. They've got kids clothes, they've got adult clothes, they have apparel, hats, and so it's just a great business to support, especially if you're Christian.
Definitely support Black business, Black love, like we always want to.
Black love.
Remember,
so
thanks for watching Joy and Pain with the Toneys.
Remember, like, subscribe, share, comment, all of the above. All right. Bye.